which it has now done. Okay. Welcome everyone to this beautiful Saturday. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where you are in the world. This is Freedom from Nigeria. And this is the place where we bring together a collection of eclectic people to talk about what's going on in Nigeria and to give you a collection of data points so you can see more clearly what is actually going on. But today we are going to be doing a rebroadcast of a program that we had probably a couple of months ago, where we're asking the question, why has the world not acknowledged the fraudulency of the 1999 quote unquote constitution, which is actually Military Decree 24, and why they have not also expressed their interest in the fact that the sovereign regions of Nigeria has been hijacked under the unitary Nigeria. But first of all, one of the things that we always want to do is to play this video that was on Channels TV with Bala Mohammed. This is where Bala Mohammed is talking about Ruga. And he is calling it pasteurization. However, how does pasteurization encompass Nigeria paying 100% to build ranches for foreign Fulani? And in this video, Bala Mohammed, Governor Bala Mohammed, also indicated that they were working to gather all Fulani from around Africa into Nigeria. They want to gather all Fulani around Africa who are supposedly global citizens, and specifically citizens of Nigeria. That's an invasion. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to get into the rebroadcast of the program that we had previously. So I am going to go to share my screen so that we can get into that video with Bala Mohammed, where foreign herders are going to benefit from Ruga. Very exciting, very interesting, and very obviously not about pasteurization. So let's get into that now, and then we will start looking at we will start doing the rebroadcast. Here we go.
Thank you. Well, let's start off with this national livestock transformation. We understand, yes, NEC decided upon it. They came to that decision. They agreed among themselves. The modality is how it needs to work. But help us understand this. First of all, has your state, you're not one of the pilot states, are you?
No, we are not one of the pilots, but having seen that we are in that part of the savannah and in Nigeria, and of course we have most of the pastoralists in our state, we indicated our intention or our interest in the program because we believe some of the mistrust and suspicion surrounding the very nice program could be assuaged, and of course we will participate in a manner that will bring the best in terms of global best practice. We are engaging the Netherlands and other countries to come and help us do this in a manner that at least it will boost our economy. We have so many reserve land and we have so many forests that are not being used. Some of them are even being used by criminals, hooligans, and charlatans, where some aspect of criminality has been provided by that forest that is called Lamebora Forest and the Yankari precincts. So outside the agitation or advocacy of the environmentalists and those that are more concerned with the fauna and flora, we'll be able to provide a salutary effect to the country because we have over 3,000 square kilometers of land that is in the savannah, in a lush vegetation that can be used for this kind of program, even to serve the nation. And while we are doing it as the federal government has conceived it, we want it to be private sector driven, and we'll bring those who are more familiar with it.
Okay, if you say, because I mean, everybody, we want to see that these killings end and there's peace and then people go about their businesses peacefully. Everybody wants to see that. But when you say that you want it to be private sector led, we understand that the government is going to provide 80% of funding, the state to provide 20%, and then provide the land.
Yeah.
How is that going to be private sector led?
The government not released any cover for that purpose up to this moment, but we don't know since we have not been admitted into the program. But certainly we have been working very hard to see that because our people are mostly transhumans, and that we have this vision to create an economic nucleus around livestock, and of course all the value chain that we can get around livestock, the blood, the horn, the skin, and of course we will try more to cultivate that culture in our people, while at the same time bringing the Fulanis in one fold and try to arrest their traditional practice of moving from one place to the other. And that is very big, an uphill task. But I think we can communicate with them more, because to them they don't have borders from Cameroon to Nigeria.
But that's the thing, Excellency. How do we ensure that those who will be participating in this federal government largely funded program will be Nigerians?
In terms of the funding?
No, in terms of the
operations.
They're bringing Fulanis together.
The issue of misconception, I think there is a lot of mistrust and misconception with regards to the Fulani man. The Fulani man is a global or an African person. He moves from the Gambia, from Senegal, and his nationality is just a Fulani man. And as a person, I may have my relations in the Cameroon, but they are also Fulani men. I have relations because from the maternal side, I'm a Fulani man. And that is why we want to educate people. A Fulani man sees himself as a Bayelsa, as somebody coming from the Niger Delta, because he speaks the Niger Delta language, which you and I don't. And of course, we would have to just take this as part of our own heritage.
Okay, I just wanted to stop there for a minute so that I can get some thoughts. The reason why we like to start with this is because it is incredibly important for people to actually hear what he is saying. So, Stephen, I'm going to come to you. Can you please talk about when he's talking about bringing all Fulani in one fold and what exactly that means to Nigeria?
Thank you, Jane. Good afternoon, House. Bala Muhammad wasn't mixing words when he was categorically saying that they are out under the Ruga plan to overtake the indigenous people and take over the land. So by him saying that the Fulani is a global African, he's saying essentially two things. Number one, Fulanis are a nomadic tribe, a homeless nomadic tribe. One. And two, of most importance, is that they have no roots in the land area called Nigeria. So by him saying that, he's saying in effect that the Fulanization agenda includes bringing all the nomadic tribes from all over the continent to make Nigeria home by fire or by force. And as I thought about this, a fit of sarcasm struck me like, well, maybe Bala Muhammad wasn't given an opportunity to explain himself. Maybe he's also expecting that all the Yorubas in other parts of the world will be brought into the Southwest later on. You know, we just want to start with the Fulanis, but I can't help myself. Thank you.
Yes, and they're going to convince them to come to Nigeria, and Ruga is that avenue, right? So welcome, Gideon. I see that your mic is open. I'm not sure if you saw the portion that I'm going to be talking about next, and if you have a comment on that. He was asked a specific question. How can it be private sector driven when the government is paying 80% and the state is paying 20%? And he did not answer that question. So can anyone please just kind of give us some thoughts on that? Gideon, if you have some thoughts on that. Ruby, do you have some thoughts on that? Because this is just, it's not even double speak. This is a call to all Fulani around Africa to relocate into Nigeria so that they can take over Nigeria. Because that's what this is about. He's talking about the lush. Did you see how he said that? The lush.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
The lush forest, but he never answered the question. How can it be private sector driven and the federal government is given 80% and the state 20%? Your thoughts on that issue, Gideon? What are your thoughts? I see that I don't know if you want to speak or not.
Yeah, I was just typing something. I don't want the noise to go into the mic. First of all, good morning. Sorry, yeah, morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you are. I should say that I came in late and I only missed found the last bit of the interview where he was asked about that means everywhere, Fulani from everywhere can come. So I missed the part where he addressed the question you just talked about.
Yes.
So I don't have anything specific to say, but I think it's certainly interesting how when he says, for example, I don't know if he was implying that Fulanis in Cameroon can also come around.
Yes.
After all,
that's what he's saying.
Cameroon,
from everywhere in Africa. That's exactly what he is saying.
And that Fulanis are from Bayelsa because they speak Bayelsan. And
yes, that's what he's saying.
That part I found. I think it's interesting in that I wonder if, and I'll be wrong about this, but I think in fact what he's saying is actually supported by the current laws of the country. In that I think if you have lived in a particular place for certain periods of time, I don't know if it's saying something like that, but that gives you the right to, I don't know if that's the law, if that's the law they're trying to.
No, it's not. They're trying to put it in, that's the indigent law that they're trying to put in place. It is not.
Okay. So is there
trying to amend the Constitution to put that in place, which is what we are opposing.
Okay, yeah, that's
very reason.
Good.
Yes, for very reason.
If we compare with places like the US, as things stand, at least any person in the US can go to any other place, and after 6 months or so, you become a resident there.
Well, actually, not actually. For instance, in Ohio State, I think it's like 3 years. So they do have different.
Also different states have.
Yes. In Ohio State, it's like 3 years, I believe. Yeah.
Takes 6 months.
And some states it's 2 years.
Yeah, but of course,
you're already a citizen. You are already a citizen of that country, right? In this case, we're talking about foreigners. We're talking about
that's the difference. So it's an interesting thing for me, but I feel like I'm still a student in this whole thing. But I can see where they're getting at, where they ultimately, without doubt, want to flood the whole place.
Exactly.
With their people. That's obviously something we have to think about. So I'm glad you're putting this on the agenda. Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. And so we do take the time to let's see, I'm going to remove somebody because that looks like one of the bots.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, let's see.
Was somebody saying hello just now?
Yeah, let's not admit these names, Ruby. Let's just remove them as they come in or leave them in the waiting room. So Jake, let's remove Jake. Ruby, if you could please remove him. Thank you. So yes, Gideon, that's why we are showing this video, because a lot of people wonder what's going on in Nigeria, but this is where they sent out a call, right? They sent out a call to all Fulani around Africa to come to Nigeria, because they say they're trying to convince them. And so how are they convincing them? That's why he asked them, do you mean that non-Nigerian Fulanis can benefit? He was like, oh yes, we're already doing it, right? So that's kind of that's kind of like a huge problem that our people need to understand, because it's free ranches, and he sidestepped the question about how can it be private sector driven, where the government is paying 80%, the state is paying 20%, and giving them free land. And this is all going to foreign Fulani. This was their call. So I'm going to go back so that we can continue kind of listening in on that. Again, this is really important for people to really understand what is going on.
Is African, and that we cannot just close the border and say the Fulani man is just a Nigerian or this. No, in most cases, the crises are precipitated by those outside Nigeria. When there is a reprisal, it is not the Fulani man within Nigeria that causes it. It is that culture of getting revenge, which is embedded in the tradition of the Fulani man, that attracts reprisal from all over the.
If I understand it, does that mean that those Fulani men who are maybe domiciled in other countries, who move around, they can come into the country and this plan will accommodate them as well?
Yes, that's what we want to do. But it has to be done through sensitization, telling them you have to buy in the project, and you use the language, the culture itself, to be able to convince them, away from the mistrust where the whole system of transhumance or pastoralism is criminalized. Criminalization of pastoralism is the problem that we have with this book.
Okay.
I hate fucking niggers. I hate fucking niggers. Go pick up some cotton.
Okay, we need to remove
Fuck you, niggers, African Americans, niggers.
Okay, let's not let any of these people into the program that don't have the names. We need to pretty much just not admit them. Okay, Ruby and Stephen, let's not admit those people. Okay. So again, just talking about, Gideon, you heard clearly this time what he had to say, right? He had clearly this time what he had to say about who, because he asked a direct question. Do you mean that all these foreign Fulanis can now come in? And he said, yes. In fact, they were going to convince them to come in and get free citizenship, free ranches, free land, and obviously AK-47s. I'm just adding that in because what's his name? PMB did say that the foreign Fulanese, that the Fulanese carrying AK-47 are foreigners, but they're coming in under Ruga because they were bringing them in under Ruga, even though Ruga was rejected. And even in 2022, Gideon, I sent you that information where the federal government is planning on building 119 ranches in the Middle Belt, Benue, Taraba. I think this was announced in either February or March of 2022. They're going to build 119 ranches. This is where Fulanis are committing ethnic cleansing and genocide of the people in the Middle Belt. And as of last year, the UN put the number at 350,000 people killed in just the Northeast. Because if you recall, a lot of us do not know that a lot of the killings by the Fulani herdsmen are not being reported. It is not being reported. But Reuters last year published the new numbers from the UN. It was not widely publicized. It was I've only seen it on Reuters. Okay, so that's kind of what is going on with with what's going on in Nigeria. It is the Fulanization, as Stephen has said. Stephen, any more comments on the global or the African citizenship of Fulani?
Yes, ma'am. I was itching for you to finish because you can listen to this tape 100 times. It will still make us boil over and pick up new nuances.
Yes.
When I listen to him again, I couldn't miss out on the conquest mentality that came out of something that he said.
Is that
He said there that it's because of the reprisals of the Fulanis from outside. Well, the question is,
and the revenge, right? Remember the revenge.
Yes,
that's in their DNA. It's in their DNA.
Yes, that's the question. Reprisal and revenge for what? In other words, if it's not a conquest mentality that we are coming to take your land and you are resisting us, therefore we have to revenge. That's where that is coming from.
Absolutely.
The conquest mentality that Otman Danfodio plays in them, I mean, they are genetically predisposed to that. And then Hamadu Bello restated that in 1960, is still ringing in their heads, so that when they face resistance from the indigenous people, they find that as very rebellious. So they have to revenge. And it's very telling.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like, this video is very disturbing because I think a lot of people just looked at the title Ruga and just passed over it, right? But then, and didn't listen to the message that he was giving out, which is, we want to bring the Fulani together, arrest their pasteurization. What does that mean? They're invading Nigeria. He's calling all the Fulani around Africa citizens of Nigeria. It's an invasion. This is a quiet invasion. And even though Ruga was rejected, he's saying in there, he asked them, oh, does it mean that foreign Fulani are going to benefit? He was like, oh yeah, we're doing it already, right? And then subsequent to this interview, we have Buhari talking about that the Fulanis with AK-47s are foreign Fulani. Well, are they not the one bringing them in through Ruga and giving them ranches and land for free and citizenship? I mean, is this not the same people that we're talking about? If these are the people, if all these Fulanis, foreign Fulanis coming on are criminals with AK-47s, why are we letting them into Nigeria? Why are we letting them into Nigeria when they are terrorists with AK-47s, have been killing Nigerians, sacking the farms of Nigerians, and raping, maiming, kidnapping, they're bandits? What are they not? This is the Fulani that we're talking about. Why are we letting them into Nigeria and giving them money so they can afford more AK-47s? That's the question that we have. So let's finish watching this. I mean, again, guys, this is really important. Okay, that's why we share this. That's why we share this video, and we want people to really pay attention to it.
People with passion who understand them and who they believe in, people like us on that part of the country, to say, yes, we have this. Because today there is.
All right, I'm standing here in front of the federal courthouse in Washington, D.C., and inside is the first.
There is no limit to the accusation that this and that has happened and it is the Fulani man who caused it. There is no tribe that is not, that we don't have this criminality in, but certainly the way our manner we do it is really exacerbating the crisis and the problems.
Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Let's talk about what he just said, okay? First of all, he said that the Fulani have this reprisal and the revenge in their DNA. Then he went on to say that the Fulani are being criminalized and that there are other criminal elements in other tribes, right? Let's talk about that. What exactly are we saying the Fulani herdsmen are doing? What is the news? What are we seeing every day about what's going on with the Fulani in Nigeria? And anyone can answer that. Bolade, if you want to speak on that's fine. What exactly are the Fulanis doing in Nigeria? And do we have other tribes that are doing something similar? Bolade,
I'm hoping I'm not going to be speaking out of turn here. Apparently, going back to 2000, and actually all these things were being fought out with these Islamic organizations, basically. I can't remember exactly. Apparently there was a gentleman who had a company that produced a breakfast cereals and biscuits and stuff in the north. I think it was Nesco. They were stationed in Jaws. In fact, I've had those guys' products and basically so I never knew that. So this gentleman provided certain logistics and money to get Boko Haram started. But in their documents at that time, they had said that one of the things they wanted was this Ruga, whatever Ruga became, it was described as something else. And they said, this is what they wanted at that time. So the plan had already been there. So they have actually implemented the plan. And
so what are the Fulanis? What are the Fulani herdsmen doing that other tribes are not doing?
Well, I think what the Fulani are doing is that they are now going to people's land and kicking people off their land and murdering and raping the people and putting a lot of trauma on the people that makes them not want to go back to their land or even go to the government and claim it. And remember, the same government is in cahoots with them. Anyway.
So if you can just kind of answer us, are other tribes doing that? Is the Biram people doing that? The Ejor, are they going out and attacking farmers and attacking trains and attacking airports and attacking schools?
No,
are they doing that?
No, it is only this Boko Haram and these jihadist AK-47 Islamic herdsmen that are doing this. Because if we remember, one of the presidential aspirants now, I think Bola Tinubu's running mate, was actually Katima, is said to be have met with these herdsmen and is one of their big sponsors.
Well, we do have those pictures where he is eating with them. So, but the point that we're trying to get us across, and thank you, Bolade, is the fact that he is equating this mass murder, mass destruction of farms belonging to others, this kidnapping and the banditry. And let's not forget, the federal government paid Miyetti Allah. How much was that again? Was it 100 million naira to stop kidnapping? Was that in 2018 or 2019? Something like that, right? 100 million to stop kidnapping. That's Miyetti Allah is the organization that these Fulani herdsmen belong to. Go ahead, James. I see you've raised your hand. Go ahead, James. You can unmute.
Hello, hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So your question, if what the Fulani are doing now is associated or equated to any other tribe or any other faction in Nigeria,
right?
The answer is totally no. It's I don't know where you've seen a Yoruba tribe or Igbo tribe going into the farms, raping and killing and maiming and devastating and killing and burning every place, everything that is all around. To do what? To occupy the land with force? It's not true. This is not this. So I don't see how to equate what this, you said it. According to what the man being interviewed is saying, he said they are calling their brothers from all over Africa to come and domicile, to come and take over Nigeria as their nation, you know? So they came in, and unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you call it, depends on where you tend your direction, you know? The ruling party or the people who has been ruling Nigeria since the military takeover has been these people. That's the full almost 90% the Fulani people. So they have been trying to bring in that said idea or plan or whatever you call it, in one way or the other, each and every one of them that rule Nigeria try to implement that idea in one way or the other. And that is exactly the whole thing just culminated at this month's regime, that is that of General Buhari, which is, I should say, the top and topmost of all of them. That's now bringing them in, trying not to do anything against them, and allowing them to go along in every part of the country. You could remember what happened during the COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had Melafia, right? That
is it.
That.
So they were distributed in every nooks and corner, while any other person should not be traveling from one city to the other.
Absolutely.
But they were allowed to be distributed in all our forests, down from north to south. Absolutely. So the question is, they came in for something. They have an intent, and that their intent is that of conquesting and taking over the land. Either you converted to Islam, otherwise you'll be eliminated, because that is their land. That is their promised land. So
thank you very much, James.
Thank
you very much. That's a very good analogy. And I really appreciated the fact that you knew about, what was going on during the lockdown, because we had put together a full dossier of all the immigration borders, the alarm that it raised in the Middle Belt of the South, seeing these trailer loads, and we had some Dangote trailers that were bringing in supposedly cows, and then when you open them, you saw all these foreign Fulanis. We saw them in the forest where they were being intercepted in the forest, and these are just the ones that we know, and we know that this is genuine because this is the government. It was the state governments, the governors themselves reporting this information and this problem. And so that's why we keep telling our people, you have to be very vigilant. They are in your communities, and yet you don't see them. Okay, and so that's why we've told the indigenous Nigerians that they need to lean on the governors, their senators, their state rep, their local government area, and demand that they go and sweep those forests and remove all these foreign elements, these foreign Fulanis who are in there and who are setting up to attack. And I don't know how many of you have heard the Akintoye video where he's reading the letter that was sent. So we have a letter that Akintoye read. There was this lady pastor that read a different letter. And then Governor Autumn has on various occasions read the letters from this Fulani nationalist or whatever it is that they call themselves, saying that this is their land. How is it their land? Okay, because one of the things that we're clear on in history is that the Fulanis are not indigenous to Nigeria. Stephen, did you want to make a comment on that? They're not indigenous to Nigeria. So how can they own a land? Okay, so they're saying, like Othman Danfodio did in fact manage to kill a lot of the traditional leaders in the north, right? But when he came to the Middle Belt, the Tiv especially resisted, and that's why they're killing people like crazy in Benue, trying to eradicate, to ethnic cleanse in Taraba and in those Middle Belt states that actually resisted them. So we're going to kind of move on from that. But again, the reason why we show this video a lot, and I know we're spending a lot of time on it today, is so that we can actually break it down for people to understand what is going on in Nigeria. This is the war that we're talking about, right? This is the war that we're talking about, that fraudulent 1999 Constitution is allowing to happen. And some people will say, well, in Europe, you can go to a place and you can become a citizen or, a permanent resident. Yeah, but we're not trying to, none of the Nigerians in America have been trying to topple America and make it a Nigeria state. We have Fulanis who are going from one African country to the other. They want to take over pretty much all of Africa. This is not just the Fulanization, it's the Arabification as well, because they're part Arabs, right? And talking about whether they're indigenous, they only came to Nigeria late 18th century AD. The indigenous tribes in Nigeria have been in Nigeria BC. So they coined the Hausa Fulani. There's no such thing as Hausa Fulani tribe, none at all, okay? So this thing that he's talking about where the criminality occurs in every tribe is one huge false narrative. And this whole thing, this pasteurization, is pretty much colonization. It's an invasion, okay? So let's go back and continue to listen to what more he has to say, because it's just so much here to unpack, and we want to make sure that people really take the time to listen to it.
Of all the people that will be yes, we are taking that. Oh yes, that is going to give Nigeria the opportunity to really have the best in terms of documentation in the demographics. Because, as I said, the Fulani man settles anywhere he can feed his cattle. And so, if they are put in one place and they are made to understand that this is to save them and their animals, they are exposed to the vagaries of the forest and what is going on, cattle rustling, killings, and what have you. And that's why it is important for them to understand that staying in one place is good.
Okay. I'm going to stop it here again. And let's see what he was talking about. Stephen, please jump in anytime that you want. Gideon, just let me know. He's talking about that they're going to document these Fulanis. And it's going to be good for Nigeria because we're going to have the demographics. Did you guys hear what that is actually saying? If you bring in all this foreign Fulani, what exactly is going to happen to the demography of Nigeria? If we have this open door and we're asking all of them to gather in Nigeria, what will happen to the demography of Nigeria? Anyone can please speak. Paul, if you wanted to speak on that. Councillor Sunny, if you want to speak on that. What will happen to the demographics if we bring in all these foreign Fulani into Nigeria? Hundreds of thousands, millions of them coming from everywhere, from other African countries into Nigeria. Go ahead, James.
Sorry that it seems that I'm monopolizing the...
Oh, no. Go ahead. Just keep it short. But I just, we want to make people stop and think, right? We want to make people stop and think. And that's why we need to have different voices kind of talking about what we're hearing, because these are serious things that he's talking about under pasteurization. It's not pasteurization for Nigerian Fulani. This is a program for foreign Fulani. So go ahead, James.
Okay, thanks. There is nothing to understand there. The picture is clear on the wall. They just want to subvert the normal population of Nigeria. These people, they are violent. He said it earlier. If you touch them, if you say they will not implement what they want to do, then they will react, they will attack you, they will just clean the whole area in order to embed, in order to introduce, in order to instigate what they want to do, to put in by force. That the attitude, telling me now what the population, the general demography of the country would be, should they allow these people, teach them how to do this or how to, this is just colorful words. This is just a deceit. This is fake. They understand? The problem, I continue telling it to many of my friends, the problem are not these Fulani people or these deceitful elements that are governing us or that are ruling or that are controlling. The problem is the other, let's just put it in percentage. These people should be 25, 30%. But one of the other 75 or 65% of the remaining population who are dancing the tune of these people.
They're not actually 20 to 25%. They're much smaller number. They're like 5% in Nigeria.
I just raised it like that because they are brutal. I know they are crossing the border anytime. So the number can be inflated. This is what we have to
remember that PMB left the borders open and invited all of them to come, right? He invited all of them to come.
Cotonou and the other reason. So let's just get this correct. The problem, as I repeat, is not the Fulanis. It's we that are allowing them to implement because they just throw a peanut on you. Unfortunately, then we pick it and they go ahead.
But James, Ruga was rejected. But they were going ahead with it.
You see what is happening? You see how they are moving from one government to the other to make it implemented, and they're giving money. They are sponsoring all this. Our stupid. Sorry, I don't have to use that word. Our people, our governors in the Central South, who did not really understand, or rather they understand, but they're only thinking of their selfish interest without minding, and then they're selling the whole country. I closed. Sorry, I think I've used my time.
That's okay. Bolade, do you have a minute to talk about that? About this conversation? What exactly would happen to Nigeria if all the Fulani around Africa come gather, because they want to gather them in one place, in our country? Now, what does that have to do with pasteurization? We can talk about that.
If all the Fulani gonna come into our nation, they're gonna change the demographic big time because they've got to have some place to stay. If they're saying they're only gonna love their cows and gonna be rearing their cows, then that's another thing. But remember, you've also had Fulani who have settled in towns anyway. So they might be going to their cousins in towns, and then they're gonna move south. They were already trying to move people off their land down south. That will increase.
That's going on.
That will increase.
Very much so,
and let's say their cows now, they're going to be bringing them down there by force, and then the people down there, they've told you, you cannot fight back. You cannot own a weapon. You cannot do nothing. But the people have now got to order that. Now is the time to organize some kind of fight back. Don't know what it is at the moment.
Well, that's what we do know what it is, Bola, and we've talked about it. You remember we've called on the governors. We've called on the people. We've called on the governors that they must implement state security. Okay, state security that is made up of indigenous Nigerians.
But here's the problem.
And that they need to change the law like Governor Autumn did. They need to purchase the equipment that they're going to require, from the motorcycles to the cars, to the guns, to the protective equipment. And then they have to train them, obviously. And then go into those forests and start moving out. And those foreign elements must leave Nigeria. They have to leave Nigeria. There is a way to get it done.
But
so that's what people need to be hold their elected officials accountable to do.
Here's the problem: the elected officials, the governors, the legislators, the senators, the House Assembly, all of them play to their own interests, right? So the governor, who is also the security head in the state, only goes to Abuja and gets money for his share that he wants to do whatever he's going to do with it. Now, when he gets back to his state, he does not say, this is for the security, because none of the governors have actually said, except the other guy, Autumn, yes, and that was recently, have said, this is for security. People have been crying out to them, but they're not listening to them. So that's why I said we don't have enough people, right? That's part of this is that we're doing is to raise the consciousness of our people, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. For the longest time, a lot of the people in the Middle Belt to the South did not know that Hausa and Fulani are separate. Yeah, I did not know.
Are indigenous, that the Fulani came in and conquered the Hausa, killing their traditional rulers and taking over their land, and then coining that fake Hausa Fulani tribe that does not exist, right? It's not a tribe. Hausa Fulani is not a tribe, right?
All right, I'm going
Under
to
that guise,
need to
a
switch
lot
to
of
another meeting
our
shortly.
people that
Okay.
are in the villages, now we're thinking that these people that they're seeing are Hausas when they were actually Fulani. So that's the deceit. Okay, that's the deceit that's been going on. So that's why our people need to understand they must hold their elected officials accountable, because those elected officials are servers. They are managers. They're not owners. The people own Nigeria. And unless and until the people rise up and demand, just as we have seen in various other African countries, where people are rising up and demanding that the elected officials work for the people, not steal from the people, not starve the people, as what's happening in Nigeria, right? And not subjugate the people to, I mean, how many governors and senators and House of Rep have condemned these Fulani herdsmen? How many of them have called for their arrest? How many of them have called for Miiti Allah and their Fulani herdsmen to be labeled as terrorists? How many of them have done that?
Nobody.
So,
No.
James, to your point, you know, yes, our people need to rise up, but if they don't have the information, if they don't have the knowledge that tells them what's going on,
they have my sister. They have the knowledge. I'm sorry. They have the knowledge, but very, very unfortunate, their behavior. They don't know actually the people they are dealing with. This is my only perception. They don't really know. They don't really understand. It's right what you're saying, information, but it's not enough. If the people are not organized within themselves, the governors knowing what is their right to protect the interest of their people, my sister, we're just wasting our precious time here, you and me.
Well, actually, we're not wasting time here, because we have seen a lot of people that have come to understand what is happening and have been
what is changing?
The information.
What is changing? That's the problem. Because
it is changing.
I shut up my mouth. Allow others to speak. Sorry.
Okay. Could I take it from there? Could I take it from there?
I'm going to call on Stephen Balade, and then we'll come back
Stephen.
to you. Stephen, what do you think? Are people starting to get the information? I'll let you speak, because you're, kind of deep into some of the grassroots things that's happening and how people are responding to getting the message and really starting to understand what's happening in Nigeria as we and other groups are spreading this information loud and clear.
Through our recent grassroots efforts, it's becoming apparent that people are waking up to the atrocities knocking at their doors. In fact, with the terrible state of security at the grassroots, people are now seriously thinking on how to defend themselves. So something is working. It just needs to work hard enough for people to mobilize en masse.
Exactly.
On the grand scale of why the Western society is turning the other way, which I believe is the original topic that we had for today.
Right. We're going to be switching to that. I didn't think that we were going to spend so much time on the Mohammed, but to your point, Stephen, every time we hear it, we focus on different nuances of what he said, because he said so much. And, we can only kind of deal with a few of it, each time. And, we hear him talk specifically about demography, right? He talks specifically about demography, about having good numbers, right? So they're going to have their people cataloged as Nigerian citizens, while the indigenous people are not going to be cataloged as citizens of Nigeria. That's exactly what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, the idea of changing the demography is to create a facade of a democracy that doesn't really exist. Because once they are able to bring all those foreign Fulanis in, then they are able to somehow tilt the electoral balance.
Of course, that's exactly what's going to happen. They will tilt it.
Exactly. So they can then tell the global community who are the colonial puppet masters in this whole game that, oh no, we are working democracy. We have the numbers. In fact, I don't know if this video or another one, Bala Mohammed or somebody else will say, we have the numbers.
Yeah, it was somebody else. It was somebody else. Oh, okay. Right. And so they put between the Fulani of 40 million and the other northerners of 140 million, they have 160 million of the population in Nigeria. That was the numbers that he gave.
That's math. It doesn't hold water. I'm glad I studied math before they took over the educational system. Yes.
Okay. I think we're gonna come into an end to that, and then we can kind of switch over to a topic. But I wanted to just kind of play a little bit of another video that talks specifically about how Ruga is taking over the lands of Fulanization and how the demography is being changed.
And we're talking about Ruga. So this program from the onset has some ulterior motive.
Okay, let's see. Let's stop that. I'm not really sure what happened there.
Let this sweet mineral melt in your mouth to rebuild your gums and teeth while you sleep, and say goodbye to the dentist forever. People are fixing their bleeding and receive.
Okay, let's go back. I think we started that at the end. Okay, there we go. We are now set. Unfortunately, it looks like somehow I pushed it to the end instead of the beginning. Sorry about that. So let's get started here.
Look, with a benefit of what has happened in my state, a similar program of a Ruga settlement was not called Ruga in 1987. The government approved land that was taken from the natives in Zangokata and Kachia local government and created a grazing reserve. And they call it Kachia Grazing Reserve. By 1990, it was changed to Laduga Grazing Reserve. And Laduga is a Fulani ward. And today, as I'm talking, it was an initial landmass of 30 hectares of land that was taken from the natives, no compensation. And up to now, no single native that is there that can even go there. If you go, you cannot even enter that place as a native. And huge development is taking place. Big buildings, big hospitals, you don't even know what is going on there in Laduga. And it has been surreptitiously increased in size to 70,000 hectares. And so if we have this Laduga,
70,000 or 70?
70,000.
Even it was 30,000 was taken initially.
From 30,000, it has been increased to 70,000, and it is still there. So there is the plan is to replicate this Laduga model all over the nation, thereby changing democracy, the political democracy, the demography, the economic demography, the social demography, the cultural demography of a people all over the nation, and Fulanize every place in the nation.
These are fears that you have.
These are fears. These are not only fears. This is something that is happening to me. I'm giving testimony.
Yes, this is something that you've seen happen.
Something that we have seen happen in Kaduna State, in southern Kaduna, and we, the land of our people, we cannot get there. We cannot go to farm. We cannot, this is the land that was taken over from the people. It was not compensated for, and we cannot go there to farm. We have become second-class citizens in our own state, in our own country, and somebody is saying that it is fears, only fears. This is real. The fear is real, and the replication of this model all over the country, and the intent is real. We have IDPs scattered all over this country. Now it is rainy season. Several hundreds communities
are living in the rain. They have living in the scorching sunshine. They are now living in the rain. They cannot get back to their farm. They will be starving. They don't have medication. And nobody has talked of establishing exclusively, settlements for such category of citizens of the country. Only to talk about Ruga, that the Ruga settlements will bring about peace between herders and farmers. How will it bring about peace between herders and farmers? And we are saying, even in the northwest region, there is a category that has been displaced in Katsina and Zamfara and other states of the core north by this armed banditry. And they are all IDPs within the country. Nobody has thought of creating any settlements for such category of people. And we are talking about Ruga. So this program from the onset has some ulterior motive.
Okay. So I think that was pretty clear what was being said there. Extremely clear about what was being said. Hang on a second. I'm hearing some sound coming from somewhere. Go ahead, Balade.
Yep, as I was saying, like this gentleman has said, it was already done in wherever he came from. That was
Kaduna State.
Kaduna State. That was back then. They had done it then.
1987.
But like I said, they had already planned it out in 2000.
1987. He was talking about 1987.
Yeah, but then they planned to roll it forward to make it all over.
Exactly.
But these Fulani was put together in 2000. These people, they said they were an Islamic group. They went to Saudi and they were actually being, they wanted to practice a stricter form of Islam, which the Saudis were into anyway, called Wahhabism. So the Fulanis now, they bought into that. So they want to put a stricter form of Islam in Nigeria, because they'll say that at the moment, what we've got is not that. Then can you imagine the Sharia they've got? They said, oh, if you're a thief, your arm's got to be amputated. How many of those are big politicians that we know have stolen money? They do that too. That are their people. They've not done that to anybody. So what is this farce that they're bringing on the Nigerian people? Because the ones they're telling to do stuff, they don't really subscribe to that Islam Sharia kind of thing. They just know we're bandits and we're going to kill somebody. We're going to do this. The rest of it doesn't apply to them, but they're going to say, oh, it's Sharia because it's nice. That's what we want.
Right. So again, Othman Danfodio started the extremist type of Islam. That was one of the things that he was known for, and for starting the jihad. So now we have these terrorists who are jihadists and who are here to pretty much continue with that agenda. And as we said before, let me repeat it because a lot of people don't see things in the news. We had where Buhari, the federal government is going to be putting 119 ranches in the Middle Belt. You heard what the Sokapo president said. What is his name now? Oh gosh, I'm forgetting. I'm drawing a blank on his name. You heard him.
Jonathan Asake.
Yes. They started with 30,000 hectares that they forcibly took from the people that owned them with no compensation. And then they increased it to 70,000 hectares. And there's lots of development going there now. No, the people that actually own the land, the farms where they go to farm, now belongs to this foreign Fulani. So they have gigantic structures going on there, hospitals and everything. And then the owners of the land can no longer go to their own land. And the federal government wants to put 119 of these between 2022 and 2028, I believe, in the Middle Belt. That's the invasion that we're talking about. That's an invasion. So Ruga is about calling all Fulani from around Africa to come into Nigeria and dispossess the land from the people that own the land. Kill the people that own the land. We have heard Danjuma, and we played that a lot because what he said is true, right? What he said is true. There's ethnic cleansing. This was in 2018 when he raised the alarm. There's ethnic cleansing going on in Nigeria. Since then, we've seen just the numbers of the people that this Fulani have killed. I mean, they have killed a lot more people than Boko Haram. I mean, a ton more. They have displaced 6 million people from their land. 6 million Nigerians, landowners, have been displaced by this terrorist and their land taken. And the federal government does nothing to support those in these IDP camps. So as you heard him say, we're now second class, it's not even second class citizens, because we're being starved to death by this government. We have over 80 million living in poverty. 80 million, over 80 million living in poverty. While they have helicopters dropping food and ammunition and God knows what to these foreign terrorists that are living illegally in our forests. That's what we have in Nigeria. So I'm going to let's kind of switch over. Go ahead. We're going to switch over to talking about the topic that we have for the day. But go ahead and make your comment, please.
Okay. Good evening and afternoon or morning, wherever we are. My name is Danla Dikaji. I just want to say that this statement by Bala Mohammed to me and others similar in the declaration that they have taken over Nigeria. And the question is that not true in the real sense of what we are seeing today? The Fulani man has dared us in Nigeria in several fronts. And we, as the indigenous of Nigeria, have done nothing, practically nothing, so to say, to show them that they cannot dare us and go free.
Good.
Hello?
You're right.
Hello, can I go?
Yeah, James is saying that you're right.
Okay. All right. So, and and what the only thing I see we do is that for some people, we are only hoping that next election is going to be better for us. We are going to get somebody who is going to change the narrative. But are we not also fooling ourselves? As we are talking, as somebody from the Middle Belt, my only hopes are that a Peter Obi will emerge the president of this country. But even at that, do we think the people of Nigeria can do anything, even if Peter Obi wins and they deny him the presidency of this country? What can we do? They have dared us in several fronts, and they have seen that we can do nothing. So today, even if the election is electronically transmitted, and the world over has seen that, yes, it is him that has won, they will not hand over power to them. Because, like I said, they have dared us in several fronts, and there is nothing we can do. The Ruga Jonathan Asake is talking about is there. He has complained, he has spoken, everybody, the world has heard us. But what have we done in practical terms to make sure that we reverse this? Nothing. The Fulani man is out there wielding his dangerous weapons, killing people, and Nobody is saying anything. The government we think that will be there to protect us are the same government that are making this kind of statements that, to me, like I said earlier on, is short of declaring that they own Nigeria now. The demography we were talking about, what other change are we expecting it to be when, as far as I'm concerned, any Fulani man in the world who had seen this open window for them to come into Nigeria, a land of honey and milk, any Fulani man, any part of the world that has not arrived in Nigeria by now is a Fulani man that does not want to come and live in Nigeria. So they already have changed the demography. The only thing that is left for them is to begin to change even our own attitude forcefully. Because
Danladi, I'm glad that you said that when you talk about attitude, because now they're wanting to put emirs, right? And Serakees. We're not an emirate in the middle belt of the South, and the last time we showed how they were putting an emir in Cross River. They have an emir of, or a Serakee of Festac in Lagos. That is, we really need to kick against that, because I saw that the governor of Cross River said, no, that needs to be stopped. But they put it in place in Festac, and he's roaming around. Why do we need a Fulani emir in the middle belt to the South? We have our own traditional rulers, because what they do, and this is what Otman Danfodio did, was to kill the traditional rulers and then put in a Fulani person there. We should never allow any emir or any Serakee in the middle belt to the South. We're not a conquered nation. We're not an emirate. And so we have our Obas, we have our Igwes, we have, all the different type of traditional rulers that we have, and we do not. Our culture should not be changed to accommodate for these foreigners who are coming in and disrespecting us, killing us, and wanting to impose their revenge DNA on a country with people who are peaceful and who live together in harmony and who are dedicated to progress. This is kind of what the situation that we're facing. And to your point, Danladi, our people need to rise up. They need to really rise up, okay? Because what is happening cannot continue. It just cannot continue, okay? So let's kind of move on. Balade, I know you want to make a comment, but we need to move on and talk a little bit about why the West is not recognizing the fraudulency of the 1999 Constitution. So let's talk a little bit about that Constitution. Stephen, did you want to talk a little bit about the Constitution and what it is, and can it be considered a legitimate Constitution, and if not, why?
The so-called 1999 Constitution is no constitution at all. It's a fraudulent document that was put together to further and perpetuate the Fulani Caliphate conquest agenda. It is actually General Abdul Salam that took a military decree number 24 and slapped a cover on it called the Constitution. It is so fraudulent to the extent that it makes no provision for civil rule, because what's supposed to be a federal government is actually centrally controlled. It's a unitary government.
It's a unitary government, because there are no nations, right? Because they hijacked the nation. There are no nations. How can you be federal without nations?
Absolutely. So it's not a constitution at all, and that's why the constitutional force majeure of 2020 had to be instituted as a starting point for a self-determination movement. Thank you.
Right. So what Stephen is talking about is that the Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination in 2020, we issued what's called a constitutional force majeure, indicating that the indigenous Nigerians are not going to be ruled under that constitution that they did not make. So the preamble of the 1999 Constitution is a lie. We, the people, did not solemnly meet and give ourselves a constitution that was indissoluble and indissoluble, right? We did not do that, because what we agreed to at independence is a Nigeria that was that had nations, the Western, the Eastern, the Midwestern, and the Northern, and the Middle Belt was supposed to have been carved out later. They were all nations. Why do we consider them nations? They were autonomous. They were self-governing. They had their own separate constitutions. The central government could not dictate to the regions what needed to happen. The central government was a small government that was supposed to do things that would benefit all the regions, because there was economies of scale and synergy, etc. That was what we agreed to. Unitary Nigeria is something that was not agreed to anyone. So the question is, given that to be the case, because we need to be able to understand what's going on to know what we need to do to change it, why isn't the Western world, the Eastern world, the Asian world, why are they not acknowledging and acting against the fraudulency of that constitution? Can we talk about why?
Can I come in, sir, man?
Go ahead, James.
Right. I'm living in Italy for more than almost 50 years now. There is a saying here that is, your death is my life, right? And again, there is a saying in Arabic word that says, your enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they apply internationally and otherwise in order to subdue any nation that they want. Good. These are the points. You're talking about the Western world. Do you know how we have been colonized? You know the history. You know what the interest of the Western or whatever it is are, and what it is today, right? So that their economical interest has never ceased. And look at it. Africa has that almost in total, from A to Z, what they need, what they really need.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Good.
Now
So,
we're starting to talk. Now, James is starting to get to the
yeah,
nitty-gritty.
we have, you know, you, me, and Mr. We know all these facts. We just keep it and just we are releasing it little by little. These people, they are hunger. They don't care who rules you. They don't care whom they rather, and I will say they care, but they make sure that the people that will be at the helm of government or decision there should be the fake ones, should be the violent ones, should be the people that will manipulate their population. Who cares about their population? Or a tribe that does that, that they will go and implement every force on that tribe, on that group, in order to subdue, to make their people to succumb, you know, so that they will be taking what they want in that their fraudulent way, without paying the right, paying account of what they were taking. And most of the times they found it in these groups of people that are very violent, and they're
non-indigenous to Nigeria.
Not indigenous. They don't care. They just want that type of people, and then they go in and pursue them, and then equip them with whatever they want. And when the information came out in the Western world, they will tell you No, it's nothing. It's just something between the tribes. You just allow them to settle it between themselves. This they have been doing for years.
Right. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's kind of go back in history.
I close here. Allow others to go ahead. Thank you.
Right, James. So let's go back in history. Let's talk about when the quote unquote white man came to Africa. So he was taking valuable things from Africa. And what was he giving Africa? Cowrie.
Nothing. Umbrella, dowry, alcohol.
Yes, cowrie, right?
Right.
And I was watching this video.
Let me just tell you. Let me just add this. Then I'll close. You remember that your great-grandfathers, my great-grandfathers, they were people with knowledge, with cultural and scientific and technological knowledge. They were doing all the things that they needed. They came in there. What did they do? They called all those things illicit. Your language, your culture become vernacular. They become intolerable. Your money or this thing, they call it counterfeit. Their wine, it's illicit gin, and so on and so forth, until they penetrate your brain, until they subjugated everybody, so as to allow them to implement that which they want, and then to siphon all that they desire to their people. And now they came in with another technique. I don't know, many people have not been observing this, but it's there. That is, they're using one stone in killing not 2 birds, but 20, 40 birds. What is that? They are taking our resources with their system. They are maiming and killing us, and they are siphoning the brain, the people. I don't know if you've most surely seen that. How many Nigerians that the British people that are medical doctors and nurses, that the British people has been siphoned and they're draining from the distance, leaving the chaffs, leaving the ones that have nothing. This are the umbrella.
Okay.
So I stop here. Sorry. Okay. I stopped here. Allow others to go ahead. Thank you.
So we're talking about cowries for valuables. And what valuables did we have let's just talk about the valuables that we have in Nigeria, right? Do we have gold in Nigeria?
Yep.
Do we have one of the best crude oil in Nigeria in the name of Bunny Light? Is that one of the best crude oil in the world?
Yep.
We have that. Do we have one of the most arable lands in the world?
Yep.
Do we have, we actually also have, lots of gas, right?
Yep.
We've got, when it comes to the fish, right? The kind of fish that we have. So we have a ton of things, right? In Nigeria that is useful to the world as a whole, right?
Yeah.
As a whole. And so I'll let Stephen talk a little bit about what we have and why it is so, and Stephen, please go there where we talk about why we don't have any refineries in the South where the oil is. Go ahead.
Thank you. Over and above all those things that you've mentioned, you mentioned several geographical nations of the world, Europe, Eastern, Asian, that are looking the other way.
Chinese.
Yes. One material that you didn't mention is columbite and tantalite.
Sorry, say that again. I didn't hear what you said.
Columbite. There's a metal called a mineral.
Yes.
Cobalt. Cobalt.
Absolutely.
No. It's columbite and tantalite, which is the heart of the microchip.
Absolutely. It is. Yes, that's it. That's in Nigeria. It's in Africa. That's
we got that as well.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go ahead, Stephen. Because these are things that we need to bring out, right?
Yes.
These are things that we need to bring out because it's not just a Nigeria problem; it's an Africa problem. That's why we see the Fulani menace going across Africa. They're going across Africa, right? There's an agenda. They're destabilizing the Sahel region. They're destabilizing Africa where these resources are, right? That's pretty much what's going on. So then you see in Nigeria, and I've seen lots of analysis about Nigeria. Nigeria was the giant of Africa, and Nigeria was poised to be a first world country in a short period of time. And it has been attacked.
Been taken down.
Nigeria has been attacked.
Taken down.
From all sides. So now, instead of cowries, what we get is loans.
Yep.
Right? So now we get loans. And what situation is Nigeria in currently with those loans that have been taken? What percentage of Nigeria's GDP is now going towards servicing loans? Does anybody know?
About 5%.
I don't know, but I've got.
What percent did you say, Stephen?
95.
Okay.
Yes, because in another 6 months, every penny that we earn is going to go towards loan servicing. And so what has happened to Nigeria?
Well, all our wealth has
we have been recolonized.
We have mortgaged, recolonized, and we
have been recolonized.
We've mortgaged everything we've got. We
have been recolonized.
We've mortgaged our children's education, everything.
Yes. Now, can somebody tell me, does anybody know what happened with France and the Francophone countries? Do you guys remember what came out last year or a couple of years ago about what France was doing to the Francophone countries? Does anyone remember that?
Hi.
Yes.
Can I come in?
Yeah. Right. What was France doing to the Francophone countries?
The Francophone countries, well, basically, when they had their independence, they were not given economic independence. Even we were not given economic independence, to be honest. But what happened?
They had less than we did.
They had less than we did. France issued their currency. So anything they sold, any like cash crops or anything they mined in their territories was actually France. They would go to France first. Then France would say, oh, you get that. Now the countries that said, we're not going to do that, France now destroyed all their infrastructure big time and made sure they're not getting anywhere. So that nobody would say, we are gonna do that. But recently, I think it was Mali that said, right, you know what, France, you're not a friend of ours. We want you out of here, basically. And then they got the Russians to back them up on that. That is the position as it is now.
But that's a problem that we have.
That's another problem. We
keep getting outsiders instead of banding together in Black Africa and supporting ourselves. That's the problem, right? So let's talk about France, because that was disclosed. Let me kind of explain a little clearer what happened, where they would, I think they left 25% of the revenue with the African countries, took 75%, and then loaned the 75% back to the countries at exorbitant interest rates. Their own money loaned back to them. What was that lady's name that was head of
she's now the
African Union, the AU?
Yeah, African Union ambassador.
Exactly. Yeah. Remember when she disclosed what France was doing to the Francophone African countries, right?
Yeah, they removed them.
And yet you hear people like Trump talking about Africa as a shithole country, went wholesale. And you've heard people who've been real and truthful about what's going on. All the first world countries are what they are because they stole those things from Africa. Those things were not legitimately taken under quid pro quo type situations. It was where it was unconscionable. These are unconscionable situations where the Western world and the first world, second worlds, or whatever put these things in place over the African countries. It was unconscionable because the power structure was different. And to the point of what James was talking about, we were given the slave mentality that we don't have brain, right? We were, the native had a head that had a smaller brain, and we could not think, we could not reason, we could not do anything, right? And yet the recent excavations, and Stephen, I don't know if you were on the show when we talked about the magnificent Black person, the magnificent brain, the fact that in BC, we were doing things either at the same time or before the Caucasians, the Arabs, etc., and they did not influence us doing those things. Whether it was Iron Age, whether it was the Bronze Age, whether it was the terracotta, we were ahead. Whether democracy, we had democracy, right? We had a form of democracy that actually worked better than what they're calling democracy, but it's really capitalism. That's where, pretty much the people at the top eat and the people at the bottom don't. Okay, that's not democracy. What we have is not democracy. We had all of that. But we had that, and I know, Stephen, you like to talk about the Stockholm Syndrome of what's actually going on in Africa. But it has been proven that for the Western world and the rest of the first and second world, the world powers, etc., to exist, Africa must be suppressed, and things must be taken from Africa, and I'm talking about Black Africa, right, to support them. Because you see how much gold do we have in that? Even the people in the West. Well, did you know that there's a lot of gold in Southwest that nobody knew about until they saw the planes flying them out of the forest going to England? Were you aware of that, Balaji?
No, I wasn't aware about that.
Yeah,
I thought our gold was gone.
That news broke, and Stephen, I know you've heard it before. I need to get this video so that the next time I talk about it, I'll show the video. They show the planes, they're carrying the gold. Because think about it.
Could I say something?
Britain does not have gold in the United Kingdom. Where's gold in the United Kingdom? And yet they have one of the highest gold deposits. Where do you think it's coming from? Nigeria and other countries where they were colonized, they took the stuff and left. And they're still taking it today.
Could I say something? I think it was back in the 70s, the West German chancellor at the time came to Nigeria and they had a good talk. They said, "Oh, we're going to help you end apartheid." But then when he got back to Bonn or whatever, I don't think it was Berlin at the time, he now made a statement when he got back. He said, "We are not going to do anything that is going to affect us badly." Then you got to say that, like somebody said a moment ago, their friends are friends. So think about that. Who are our friends in the world and who are their real friends? Now, America came out recently. It was a document called American Century 2000, I think it was called. In there, America said, just because these resources are in your lands, don't mean you own them. That is a big one for us because they are now telling you, because back in the oil days, when the oil were coming about, when all these companies were going about and saying, hang on, we're fighting each other here. No, let's not fight each other. We're just going to go to these people and tell them we want their oil somehow. And that's what happened to Nigeria. Basically, so certain people got hold of our oil, and basically, whatever the Nigerian government gets, we don't know. Now the Nigerian government.
Well, we do know, right? Because Stephen, back me up here, please, on the percentage. Isn't it 80 to 85% of the oil that is stolen in Nigeria? And the Nigeria government never discloses that money.
Yeah, because it's gone to somebody.
Right, because OPEC, and also OPEC talked about how much Nigeria sold, so where is the money? Why are we borrowing when they sold that much? It was in the news recently, right?
And could I say another thing that might explain that? You see, someone said this in a video he said, what happens in the oil industry is that when we sell our oil on the international market, the money we get on there from the oil sale don't go back to Nigeria. We are told to put it in an account in New York. Then when we say we want to spend the money, they're told to go and open a credit account, am I right? And spend whatever you want from there. So we're always going to be in debt anyway. So now,
let's talk about that, but let me explain how that works, okay? How that works is this. There are no refineries in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So a country, the giant of Africa, has oil in the south. Pretty much, I mean, we are sitting on just so much of it, both on the land and in the sea. We got oil everywhere. But there is no working refinery in the south. After NNPC said they spent how many trillion?
Oh, there you go there.
Was it 4 trillion that they spent and have not been able to produce one barrel of oil? Okay, let's not talk about the Kaduna refinery that has been running at negative, okay, negative and a serious negative loss for years. Okay, so this is what we're talking about. We're talking about how is it possible that legitimate nations, sovereign nations, were hijacked and the UK acts as if they never existed, even though we have the documentation, we've got the independence documentation, we've got the documentation from 1953 to 1955, when they made their study and said Nigeria can never succeed if it's unitary. We looked at that, and I can pull it up again so that we can look at it. That Nigeria can never be successful as a unitary because there are too many differences and apartheid would ensue. So how is it that the United Kingdom that knows that has said nothing? How is it that the United Kingdom that knows that the Fulani are foreigners, we can have a parliamentary member standing up and said, oh, wow, we can't really do anything because they're just fighting amongst themselves. You know, apartheid only exists if it's from a foreigner. Well, Fulanis are foreign, damn it, and you know that, excuse my French.
I think
help me out here before I lose my mind.
I think it also goes back to the fact that really they don't care, and they're getting what they want from Nigeria anyway. Yeah, so why take the status quo?
Speak, please. Stephen, please help me out here with regards to just the whole situation where there is no refinery in Nigeria, but guess where Nigeria has put on the refinery?
Niger Republic.
Niger Republic, and they have signed an agreement with Niger Republic. And on top of it, giving them 1.4 billion naira worth of security cars. Why there's no security in Nigeria? While the police people are pushing their cars, their security are pushing their cars. They give it 1.4 billion to Niger Republic, $1 million to Afghanistan, and we have people in IDP. And I'm going to pull up the picture of the people in the IDP. Stephen, while I let you speak, because it is important for us to see what is going on. Go ahead.
Put that on there.
There is always some excess reserve funds for anything that helps to sustain the caliphate agenda. Notwithstanding that the educational system is severely and almost irretrievably broken. The ASU strike is on since February. We don't have any working refinery in Bayelsa State or any of the southeastern states where they all are produced, because the Fulanis that control the government are not actually indigenous to the country. So there is no incentive to protect the assets. They just plunder what they can, when they can. So at the end of the day, they have nothing to lose. But now they are now getting smarter by holding reserves in Niger Republic.
Yes.
I need to say very, very quickly too, that the so-called independence that the British gave us in 1960 was just a sham. There was no intent at genuine independence.
Absolutely, just like French, just like the French,
what I call a symbiotic relationship with the Fulani. The Fulanis have a caliphate agenda. The British needed to perpetuate their colonialism. So, but both of those agendas are intricately intertwined. So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. The indigenous people of Nigeria, of Nigeria then, the southeast and the southwest people were the common enemies of the Fulani conquerors and the British colonialists. You notice in the colonial days, they never went up north to go and get slaves. No, they took their slaves from the coastline. And we are the most educated, too smart for them to be manipulated. So,
well, they managed to manipulate us, right? And this is what we're talking about earlier. We talked about the House of Fulani.
Right.
Emir of Calabar.
Yeah, it's a laugh. That is a laugh and a half.
That's go ahead, Stephen. I'm just, I just try to share things as I find them.
Symbiotic relationship that has actually fueled the success of the caliphate agenda in everything that they've done, because the British colonial masters are able to profit from the chaos that they are shielding, while the Fulanis are also able to continue to realize the caliphate conquest agenda. You notice also that the southern border is being closed.
Yeah.
That's because aside from the economic bondage that they have forced them, the people that could come in from the southern border are people of the southern Yoruba tribes from Benin Republic. So those ones cannot come in. But then the borders in the north are open, where they can ship, liquefied natural gas, and then all the non-Nigerian Fulanis can come in from other West African countries and through the Sahara Desert. So we now
and now all goes the other way. The oil is going to go the other way and come to Europe in the end. That's the plan. That's one of the plans.
Yeah. So as we're talking about this, I mean, and I'm going to let somebody else talk. And Councillor Lambe, please, you can join the conversation, because as we talk about this, these are important things that we need to be talking about. These are very important things that we need to be talking about, because, when we understand what's really going on, because a lot of people don't understand the House of Fulani, false narrative. They don't understand why the Fulani are the ones that are taking over, all the top positions in Nigeria. I think I saw something that Buhari's daughter is making, 6.7 million naira?
Yeah, a month.
And in NNPC, right?
Yes.
And if you look down the list of the people in NNPC, and I am going to pull up some of that in a minute, but please, Councillor Lambert, please, if you can please join the conversation about, are we hitting the points about why the West and the rest of the world is ignoring the fraudulency of this 1999 Constitution and the legitimacy of the hijacked nations? Please, if you can talk to us about that, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, greetings, Father, Mr. Stephen Fality, and everybody on the program. Sorry, it's been a long day, so that's since about 9:10 this morning. I've been from one meeting to another. So sorry about that. Now, it's not I don't know why people expect the West to be, indifferent. The only analogy I can give is somebody is cheating you. That person knows if there's chaos in your community, that's opportune for them to run away with all your resources, all the prizes. So is it surprising that West, we always find an excuse to create chaos in our society? And when we are fighting one another, it disrupts us, because if you are in peace, you can think logically. You can plan for your people, for yourself, the road, the hospital. But if you spend a lot of time fighting, putting out the fires, it's very difficult to think about development. Look at Libya. Libya was one of the most developed parts of Africa some years ago. Look at it now. Did you hear in the last 24 hours what is happening in Libya? The last 24 hours, the factions, and the third section is now involved in fighting Libya. In the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
Libya was peaceful. Then go back to Iraq. How many years did the West control their oil? They sell it, they do whatever they like with the proceeds. They are probably rubbing their hands waiting for the time Nigeria explodes.
And
Right.
Nigerians are.
Absolutely, and that's why we have to be smart, right?
So that is why we have to be smart.
Yeah.
Yes, it's inevitable we are breaking up.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. Only a fool will think there's a future for Nigeria.
We actually need to make sure that we survive, because they, hunger, they're using starvation and poverty as a weapon of war. That's why they're keeping our people from going to the farms. And that's why our people must demand that these governors, it's either you protect us or you step down.
And I only like
the masses must rise up.
Yeah, I don't like it to what is happening in Nigeria to the whole of Africa.
Absolutely.
Especially when you look at Ethiopia,
West Africa, right? Look at West Africa look at West Africa.
When you look at Tigray and in Ethiopia, for instance, and other conflict zones in Africa, what is the AU, what is ECOWAS doing?
Yes.
Let's have our own convention. We have these imposed boundaries among us that has no relevance to our cultural heritage, to us as a people. How do we, even it's going to take us a year or two to discuss this, how do we come out of this quagmire? But no, they're too busy stealing, because most of them are working for them anyway. And they have their Swiss bank account where they store their loose. And then when they misbehave, they put sanction on them.
That's it.
How can you see, the question I always ask these people is this: why would I want to steal something I will never be able to enjoy it peacefully? Think about that. Because if you're a thief, what you want to do is to make sure you steal, the owner doesn't catch you, to find somewhere safe to enjoy it. So all these people,
we are missing you, Sonny. Nambe, we are missing you. What's wrong?
What is that? I don't understand.
Yeah, sorry, we missed you for a minute. If you could repeat the last thing that you said.
Oh, okay. I was saying that, if we want to be a thief, okay, I want to steal so that I can go somewhere safe and enjoy my loot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, these people don't think when you steal, you can't enjoy in your own country, and you bring it over here in the Western world, and then when you steal, even sometimes they pretend they don't see you. They wait until you misbehave.
Yeah.
And don't put sanction. Now, any sensible person, why do I want to see something I'll never be able to enjoy peacefully? And I become
let's talk about how much African money, Black African money, is sitting in those Swiss accounts.
Loads.
What is African Union doing, and what is ECOWAS doing to go get the money back to their country?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Okay.
We have so much of our money sitting in those accounts. I mean,
Could
I
I
think
say one?
is the United States getting ready to release another 24 million
Okay,
of the
yeah.
Abacha loot that
Yeah.
nobody in Nigeria sees, right? It comes back and it disappears.
Oh, exactly.
This is a good one. I'm sorry, I have to. What about the termites that earthed the receipts for the, was it how many billion of naira that termite just ate all those receipts?
How about the one that snake? Have you forgotten that one too?
Oh, the one of the snake. It is getting ridiculous. That's as bad as, I mean, what did Tinubu say that it was the dog or the cat that ate his certificate? I don't remember which one he said.
So my people,
I said, you know what? Come
here.
on, please, Tinubu now. Even
I'm
if the dog
bringing you
ate your
here.
certificate, you just ask the school to issue you a new one. Abby, it's not a problem. They will issue you a new one. You know, anyway, we're going off topic. So we're getting ready to close here. But one of the key things that we're trying to really talk about and really have our people understand is that
I'm sorry,
we are
Jane,
facing
I'm calling off here,
multiple
please.
enemies, right?
I'm sorry, I have another engagement. So I'm just
thank you very much, James. James, I asked you to provide your information so that we can make sure that you're joining us, okay?
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.
God bless.
Thank you. Okay, so we're providing this information so our people can really get to understand what's going on. We have multiple enemies. They may appear to be friends, but they're enemies. They're enemies to progress because of the way the things are done in especially Black Africa, the way that constitutions are written, the way that corruption is written in. The 1999 Constitution has legitimized corruption. You can't hold the president accountable. You can't hold the governors accountable for providing benefits, just simple benefits that you hire them to give to the people. You cannot hold them accountable until they leave office. And then when they leave office, they say that you can't hold them accountable. And the federal and the court system that should know better. So yeah, you can't hold them accountable. So all that money disappears. And then they tried in the last constitutional amendment to now say that senators and representatives were now going to be, they also were going to be immune. They were not going to have immunity. Unbelievable. But that's what happens. In Black Africa, this is what happens. And they see these people bringing their money to the West, to the East, to Asia, and they take the money and they keep the money, knowing full well it doesn't belong to those people and it was stolen. But who cares? They're achieving their aim of subjugating the whole Black continent. Okay, the whole Black continent. So when because we have to know what is going on for us to figure out how to see that we get out from under this mass colonization. We saw the Chinese. What kind of agreement were the Chinese doing in Africa? Unconscionable agreement, unconscionable. And I saw the one where they built, what was it? Was it for the AU that they built their offices and put in all the equipment to listen in on what they're saying?
Listening devices.
Oh my God.
Because we're
Why
stupid.
are we bringing in the Chinese to build our stuff?
Well,
the world is taking Nigeria talent, whether it's in sports, whether it's in engineering, whether it's in finance, whether it's in politics. They're taking Nigeria brain because our brains are on fire. But pay attention, indigenous Nigerians. When the government is taking money to starve your children, it's a gun to the brains of your children because it will not develop properly. It's a gun. Poverty, starvation is a gun that is pointed directly at the brain of over 50 million children in Nigeria. I should have this as a picture for one of our commercials, because that's exactly what's going on. And we need to wake up and start turning things around, or our heritage, which is already being decimated with the emirs and the Serikis, and let's not forget, a wanted terrorist was made a Seriki in the north, and the federal government did nothing. One of the top wanted terrorists was turbaned as a traditional leader in the north, and the federal government did nothing. If that's not complicity, and I'm saying it's not complicity,
did you hear
I am saying that it is leading the charge. We've gone beyond complicity of this Fulani controlled government to where they're directly leading the charge.
Did you hear about the one where Boko Haram are now providing security for the railway lines, and another organization in the
We
oil
saw that,
belt
yes, it just
is
came out
now
of this statement that they will not
they
listen
now
to
want
another.
about say
Guys, the whole military, we saw military people harassing grandfathers who are going to the farms in the southeast. Put them on the ground. These are men with white hair and beards. And the Nigerian Armed Forces, which the International Criminal Court is investigating. The Nigerian Armed Forces has been investigating for crimes against humanity that rises to the level of war crimes. And we see it happening. And the ICC is there shaking their hands and laughing. Excuse me?
Absolutely.
Where is the United Nations Human Rights Commission? Where are they? So guys, we're facing a lot of enemies, and enemies of false narratives, enemies that want our resources, enemies that want our land, and enemies that want to take away our freedom of religion and freedom of free speech. We are facing a lot of enemies, and enemies that are wanting to control our minds and destroy the minds of our future generations so that they can take over Black Africa. And that we have to change. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. We're here every Saturday, and we invite everyone to join us again next Saturday when we will have, some other topics that we're going to be talking about. But they're going to be standard videos that we're going to be showing and analyzing because they are important. So thank you very much, Councilor Lambe. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you, Balade. And Jen Laddie, you are quite welcome, and we hope to see you again. Paul, I know that your work, and I really appreciate you coming on board. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you again next week, where we will be tackling some more serious topics as we continue to do every single Saturday at 7 p.m. Nigeria time, and we typically will start at live stream